Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Can you all see me from behind this? Because I'm not very tall. Can you? Yes. You, of course, can hear me, yeah? I will sit down.
In the name of God, most compassionate, most merciful.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of the delegate, I'm so grateful to see such a crowd in this hall, especially after lunch. We were so worried that there will be so few people attending the panel discussion on women. But I am most grateful that you all are here to cheer us on and to actually acknowledge the fact that women are worthy assets. Over the last 1.5 days, we were enraptured by the presence and presentation made by head of states, CEOs, bankers, and successful businessmen, largely male, talking on subjects and issues that sound so intriguing, frighteningly intellectual, about economic resilience, about sustainability of development, cross-border transactions. Our panel discussion now, today, is going to talk about something so basic, about how to create worth and value to this 50% of the world population that actually is truly economic assets. Now, when you talk about basic, it really means it's fundamental. So empowering women in business and whichever sector they are in is a basic fundamental. Ladies and gentlemen, over the years, you have seen women increasing their presence in the workplace, in the area of entrepreneurship, in the area of technology. They are also becoming prominent bankers, and they are also creators of new businesses. We are proud of this, but I think we can accelerate that pace for the women to be present in the economy of each country and indeed of the world. Women constitute 50% of the world population. But economically, what is most important is, according to McKinsey research and analysis, women constitute 80% of the world consumption. Anyone can tell you that 80% consumption, decides in consumption, means a large market. You don't need an economist or a marketing expert to say that. It is common sense. But as we know that, we know it, common sense is the least common of all senses. So we are trying to provoke, to make you realize that women actually do contribute to the growth and development of the world economy. Not just the community, but of the country and the world. The world loves us, but maybe not sufficiently. So we really do need to see what we can do to make sure that this rather unexploited human capital, which is an economic asset, be made use more fully by the community and the government and the world. With us today, I have 4 exceptional women who are actually entrepreneurs. 3 of them are entrepreneurs. One of them is a professional advisor in the C-suite category. And they are what I call award-winning entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs. And they are actually formidable because I could see actually one of them, especially Dr. Sheikha Al-Maskri, being surrounded by men wherever she is. That goes to show that men are attracted to successful women. And we want to make women, more women, successful, and they all are. Now, we know that women face a lot of barriers, invisible and obvious. But these women have broken those barriers. barbed wires, glass ceilings, whatever that is in place. And today, we can realize that networking, we do realize that networking, especially peer networking, is the leveling instrument or mechanism that will help women grow to a higher heights, because it is a support group that they really need. We don't have much support group. So peer networking actually is self-help, is an instrument of self-help of women for women. Not that the men are not helping us, but self-help amongst women is essential, if not imperative. Now, there will be housekeeping, just a house order is, the first round would be 5 minutes given to each one of them, and 2 of them will have a PowerPoint presentation. And the next round will be some questions that I will be throwing to each one of them individually, and then I will then allow the delegates, the people present here in this hall, to ask whatever questions relevant, of course, and not too much provoking them, because these women, once provoked, they can be something that you regret. You ask certain questions. So with us, the 4 of them, as I said, are formidable ones. First, to my extreme right here is Sharifa Hamza, Senior Associate of Bennett Jones, an Asian, Malaysian perhaps, but residing in Qatar. Second is Alison Vaughan, who even appears in Oprah Winfrey magazine, and if you appear in her magazine or her show, that means you are already considered as a fantastic person. Third is Dr. Sheikha, of course. And she's chair and owner of Al-Mashkari Holding, involved in investment in all diverse sectors. And fourth is Edva Priya from South Africa, CEO, Women of Africa, engaging largely in fuel and oil. And I am Noraisha Mohammed. I am from the WEF. I'm chairman of the World Business Network and also a member of the Board of Trustees. So I think we shall start. We can either sit there in our chair or you can roam about, as long as you don't roam too far away. And we will have, I hope, a very interactive and very interesting discussion. Thank you very much. That was just as an introduction, but now I would like to call upon each one of them to talk about what is meant by peer networking. Why is it so important? Why is it so essential for women particularly? Don't the men need that, or they do not? And each one will be talking about peer networking from their experience and from their perspective. So, Sharifa, I would like to call upon you to start the ball rolling.
Thank you, Dato'. Can you hear me? Assalamu alaikum. I'm very honored to be here today, and I thank WIEF for inviting me here. In addressing this issue on how a strong peer network can be realized to help women entrepreneurs across the globe, we need to look at what challenges women face. What challenges women face in starting up a business or in running a business. So one of the key areas is access to capital. In certain jurisdictions, women can't even own land or assets, properties. And if they can't own land or assets, how are they going to obtain financing to start up a business? And in other areas, we have to look at the regulatory infrastructure of each country. Some of these can be daunting for women who want to set up businesses. So an established women network of women who are successful and have gone through the process will help to mentor these women to go through and with the regulatory processes, how to obtain licenses, and set up a business plan, and how to manage their accounting. So this is one of the areas where a woman peer network would help and assist these women. But we're talking about countries where women are already educated and are able to basic principles of business. But there are certain jurisdictions where women don't even know how to start up and go about going to the regulators, etc. So we're looking across the board whether we can, the women network organizations of developed countries can help women of countries which are not developed. And by this, we look at instances like what Grameen Bank did with Bangladesh, with rural women, and lending them monies to start up small businesses. So how could women in, let's say, the UK or the US contribute to these women in Bangladesh or other countries in Africa who need some help to start up these businesses?
May I
Yes.
intervene immediately? You're talking about the developed countries, women who are successful to help those who are not. But surely within each country, there must be some successful woman who could actually mentor those that are in their country. So internal, in the interior of the country itself. I mean, you can't depend because cultures, certain structures are different, and regulatory, whatever is available that are imposed in the country, the local women who already are doing businesses would understand better than somebody from UK, for example.
That's very true. That's very true. But also, I'm thinking of also within a country which the laws or the regulations are not so developed. The progress seems to be quite slow in comparison to other countries, whether other women could help them from other countries, could help them to achieve this faster, break these barriers, and have a borderless environment.
Wouldn't you say that is more an emotional and psychological support that they can give rather than helping out in the regulation?
Helping to support. Okay, internally within the countries, women who are more educated can help the rural women to establish businesses or small businesses and things. But if they got the support globally, let's say you have satellites of women networks around the world. If they group together, you could have a network where the women in Malaysia could help support the women in Indonesia, and for marketing purposes, for marketing their products, for instance.
Okay. It's 000 now. That means I have to move on to Alison. She has got a PowerPoint. Alison, what exactly is meant by peer networking for you?
Sure.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I greatly appreciate the invitation to participate in the 2014 World Islamic Economic Forum. and to be a part of such an accomplished and distinguished panel. I bring you greetings from the United States, and it is an honor to have the opportunity to discuss the rise of women entrepreneurs, developing a peer network, and to share a little bit about my personal experience. Let me tell you a little bit of statistics and why we're here today. Research from the World Bank, the United Nations, the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, and other studies indicate the real drivers of the global economy are women, as business leaders, employees, consumers, and entrepreneurs. For instance, the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor produced a 2012 women's report and found that 126 million women around the world were starting or running brand new businesses. An additional 98 million female business owners ran companies that were at least 3 years old. In other words, 224 million female entrepreneurs were impacting the global economy. Based on that survey, that involved only 67 of the 188 countries recognized by the World Bank. No matter what economic role we play as women, millions of us now recognize the importance of developing a peer network. Now, there's two different types when you're talking about peer networking. One, you talk about mentoring, and then the other, you talk about peer networking. The whole idea behind a peer network are colleagues helping each other to help themselves. Last night, we had a wonderful opportunity to interact with one another at the gala dinner, and we did a little bit of peer networking last night. And so as a founder and CEO of a nonprofit organization, I'm always networking, whether it's with a for-profit organization or a nonprofit organization. My organization, Jackets for Jobs, we provide employment training, etiquette skills, as well as clothing to job seekers. When I founded the organization 14 years ago, I had the mission of just working with women. And then I realized men needed help as well. But the organization's main goal is to empower individuals to help them to enter into the workforce. And so peer networking is very important in my organization because I need to be able to network with others to explain our mission of what we do, as well as growing the organization. Jackets for Jobs is located in Detroit, Michigan, which is home to Motor City, the home of the auto capital. And so I'm proud to be here and to share my experience regarding peer networking. Thank you. We currently have 3 offices for Jackets for Jobs. Headquartered in Detroit, I have 2 locations, as well as an office in Botswana. But I am far from satisfied with the 3 offices, and I plan to grow Jackets for Jobs even further with more offices within the next 3 years. And to prepare such growth, I will take the skills that I've learned from the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Organization to grow my business. Many of you know that Goldman Sachs is a thriving investment bank with $11.6 billion in profits last year. I'm very proud to have learned the skills from Goldman Sachs, and the billionaire investor Warren Buffett is the chair of the advisory council, so I have a lot of expertise in learning from somebody very wise and profitable. The 10,000 Small Business Program introduced me to brand new peer network, and many of my fellow graduates were women. Goldman Sachs is one of many proponents of grassroots economic growth that recognizes the urgent need to invest in female entrepreneurs. With Jackets for Jobs, we help people to do peer networking so they can go out and become entrepreneurs and better themselves. So in closing with my opening remarks, I just want to say that there are a lot of resources out there for women entrepreneurs, and that the skills from Goldman Sachs helping me to reinvest in other female entrepreneurs is something that I cherish and that I look forward to doing. I certainly plan to use my skills to craft new partnerships and mentor other women who are just getting started in the business. I'm sure today you will learn not only from myself but the other panelists the skills that we've done to become successful and to share those for other people to become successful also. Once again, thank you, and I look forward to the open discussion.
Thank you so much, Alison. I now move over to my dear friend, Dr. Sheikha Al-Masri. You could either sit there if you wish to, or you can just walk left to right, whichever makes you comfortable. But tell us your experience in peer networking. She's walking.
Bismillah ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.
In the name of God, most compassionate, most merciful.
And whether to sit or to walk, but as a native of the UAE, is homegrown product. We have a culture. We welcome our guests standing up. So I would say, welcome to the United Arab Emirates. Welcome to the land of dreams. It may be hard to believe, but I actually write about it, and I invite anybody to contradict me. This is the only land of dream that is actually here, and welcome to dazzling Dubai. Dazzling Dubai, dazzling not only with its skyscrapers and science fiction type of tramways and transportation, state-of-the-art banking infrastructure, and all kinds of infrastructure. But what is dazzling in Dubai? If you go to the square at Burj Khalifa, just look at the faces. Everybody is happy, strong, working, and in business. Here, I have said many times, we have inspirational leadership of our president, His Highness Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan. I'm from Abu Dhabi. I would say the most compassionate eyes I have ever seen in all my life are those of the listening. The Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. But I have several times nominated to the Nobel Prize. I have nominated to the Nobel Prize to create a new Peace Prize for leadership in entrepreneurship for His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid. He's a leader who has excelled. We have liberal policies. When we talk about inclusive economic development, it's gender inclusive, racial inclusive, religious inclusive. Every kind of inclusiveness is there. And not only that, he always invites anybody, visitor, resident, businessman, if you find something wrong going on with my government, tell me how to improve it. Tell me what's wrong. That's absolutely what makes Dubai and the UAE tick. So if I have an advice, I would advise the world, if they want to really, honestly develop their country, to read His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid's book. Listen to what he says. Follow what he does. And you don't need a PhD or MBA. There you have all the lessons you can learn about successful entrepreneurship, leadership. Now, it comes to myself, I wouldn't have been here if I was not from the UAE. Yes, I'm the GCC. No, the UAE excels. Yes, I'm prejudiced because it's my country, but it excels. We have no discrimination between men and women in leadership. But I would not be apologetic or incorrect to say women entrepreneurship in the Arab Gulf, even in this country, There are disadvantages, not insurmountable, but they are inconvenience. Men go to majlis, women don't. At majlis, they discuss their businesses with our rulers, with the CEO, with the chairman. Women don't. And men club together. Women have got their women duties of motherhood and also very demanding husbands. Literally, if you don't watch it, he will get the second, third, and fourth wife. So while we are inspired to pursue entrepreneurship, we have also in this country and almost I see everywhere else in the world to know what is, when you say, I am participating in G20 gender equality policy. Say, no. It has to be gender compassionate. As a woman, a man does not need some of the attention, special attention a female needs. During maternity, during pregnancy, during maternity, during breastfeeding, during child taking. These are only female compassionate policies, not to do with gender equality. We cannot be equal. We are giving more than that. And UAE is giving us creches, time to take off to breastfeed, and all that. That one. The other one, inclusiveness. Inclusiveness, we can be inclusive. But I adamantly refuse to be inclusive with anybody who my gut sense says he's a crook. I don't care where he comes from. I just tell him, you know what, I don't like you, I'm not going to do business with you. That's it. Okay, so we have those things. Did I encounter any problems? I will not be incorrect. I inherited a privileged life. A Mascari holding started with my parents. But I never dreamt of being an entrepreneur. I was very happy as a geophysicist, and with all the best privileges of National Oil Company, that's my industry, that's my profession. However, my parents died, and my husband died within months. This is the most important thing about family holding. All the legacy of Al-Mascari Holding, the global reputation, the love of our employees all over the world. Would I would say, look, cash out and go and enjoy a privileged life? I had a lot of soul searching. And I decided, go out there and do it. So family holding, although it's a privilege, number one is an obligation to the past, to the present, an obligation to sustain our wealth and our reputation utmost to the future. So anybody, when my son gives the card...
Sheikha, you run a debit of 3 minutes.
Am I finished?
You are finished. But
she always, this is my 4th participation, she always runs me off the stage.
We will continue with you afterwards, please, because we have to show the world that we are also very obedient to timing.
Welcome to Dubai. You want to hear more? I'm available. I'm a telephone call away.
Yes, yes.
I love you.
Take care. You know, she's very passionate with what she does and whenever she speaks. And I tell you, it's very difficult to stop her. She's worse than a politician. Okay, Priya, where are you? Okay, she's on the other side. She's from South Africa, also dealing with oil and gas. And she runs an organization that actually helps women grow and become successful entrepreneurs. Please, Priya.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. So I hail from the African region of South Africa, but Women of Africa proudly operates both in Zambia, Zimbabwe, DRC, and in Tanzania. Wow, I am in awe. I'm in awe of the women that I've met this afternoon, of the women that I've encountered at the World Islamic Economic Forum. I want to thank you for including me in this afternoon session. I feel privileged. I've had the opportunity, thank you, to speak around the world, but I must admit I was never more excited to speak here today. And for good reasons, because I'm surrounded by such dynamic, inspirational women.
All right, sorry.
So, what women entrepreneurs are up against? I think it's important we tell a story. I think we need to be factual. We need to be totally transparent with each other. There is a sudden bias against us. We need to operate in non-traditional, male-dominated sectors. And the fuels and oil sector is by far one of the few sectors that women get involved in. But it is by far also the toughest sector. Women of Africa, Fuels and Oils, this year competes at the World Entrepreneur Awards for Africa, and we're so proud of where we got and how we got here. But it hasn't been easy. We've had to fight a lot of bias. We've had to fight corruption. There has been a lack of government support to a certain degree. I mean, South Africa, it's public knowledge. We came up with a thing called Women Empowerment and Gender Equity Bill. But guess what? We couldn't even get our bill through the necessary house. So it is largely as a lack of government legislation that we face the bias and we're unable to overcome it. There's also a lack of mentoring. We are so accustomed to being middle people. We don't want to rise up, take the leads of boardrooms. We're better in the corner, sitting back and listening, as opposed to talking. And when we're young, we're taught by our mothers that girls do nice things. We do softer things. We don't get involved in hardcore business. I thought this was an interesting slide because it showed where women are performing at their best. And Alison, you're fortunate. You're in a region where women are thriving. I mean, the US is doing exceptionally well. What's not on the slide is where the UAE sits. And currently, you are at 11% of women that are in powerful positions. South Africa is at 26%. India is also at 11%, and Japan is at 9%. Most interestingly, Russia is at 43%. Would anybody have thought that the Russians are in favor of women running their companies? I would not think so. But what is interesting is that nobody really takes the time and makes the effort to understand how women are performing, where they're performing, and what they're doing well. And this largely influences our ability to network as well. So what works for me as women of Africa? I think the first thing I've got to tell you, and it talks to networking as well, is that we are bold. We go where few people go. I've been to the swamps of the DRC. I've been to the mines of Zambia. I've moved cement from China into South Africa. I've taken unbelievable chances. Yes, it comes with huge sacrifice and huge commitment, but if you had to ask me whether I'd embark upon this journey again, and if I'd do everything exactly the way I did it, I would say yes. And the reasons for that is because 30% of our profitability as women of Africa goes right towards women empowerment and women entrepreneurship. So we take that money and ensure that we develop other women entrepreneurs year on year. And we've been doing it successfully now for the last 9 years. I think as women, we also learn to work, we need to learn to work on our business rather than in it. I am an appalling manager. I hate managing people. And I have found out why I'm so bad at it. I would rather focus on growing my business as opposed to managing other people's time. We are shy to establish key advisory networks. We are not good at everything. We need to admit we're not great at everything. How many of us need to, well, we need to learn to understand how to read financial statements. How many of us need to learn to put together business plans and go to a bank and say, well, we need funding? This year, because of the finalist position, I had 6 companies approach me to buy 20% of my company. And the interesting part is I indicated to them that we're not for sale. People thought I was crazy because I was offered great numbers, but I realized something. As women, we need to be proud of what we are and how we got there, and we need to hold on to it. So, in as much as you will evaluate your business for expansion, I think don't sell off your assets immediately. Rather focus on growing them. Go global. Think big. Don't be shy of going into an area where no women operate. This is a slide about one of my colleagues who is, and this is the biggest issue at the time, well, at this point in time, Ebola. How do we tackle Ebola? Do you know there is a South African company that has the best Ebola kit? And this woman is Melanie van der Bijl. She's from a company called Let's Share Trading. What better way to show you how to network? This is another company, and I have undertaken to ensure that she is given the right amount of publication. So this woman is about networking, taking somebody who knows you well and asking them to sell your brand. Lastly, it's a slide that I'm very passionate about. One girl can change her community. Multiply that by 6 million girls in a developing world, and you've changed the course of history. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Priya. Your success story is obvious. I mean, the same with Dr. Shekhar, the same with Alison. But to focus exactly on what we want to talk about is how you, the successful ones, reach out to those who are starting up, those who are struggling to make it to even halfway where you are. How do you do that? Are they responsive to your efforts to help them? Or are you sincere and committed to reaching out to help them? I will start with Sharifa again. You are in the corporate world, you are a lawyer and all that, but how do you specifically in your position reach out to women who wants to be entrepreneurs rather than just talking, as a consultant to big corporations? Specifically, how do you reach out to the women who wants to make it, who wants to have a bit of economic independence?
Well, actually, my area is very specialized, which is construction and PPP, and this is very much male-dominated.
Yeah.
But I'm very pleased to see there are a lot of female engineers now, and quantity surveyors. But personally, so I deal with corporations. Although there are women who come to try to set up firms, companies, and so we advise them on how to set up companies, what capital they need, how much capital they need, what licenses they should get. So that's part of what we do. But personally, I try to help out on my own in some of the charities or foundations which it's not run by me or as an individual. So I help with fundraising for single women. There's a particular foundation I've helped out in with fundraising for single women, and this is in Malaysia. It's called Yayasan Sultana Bahia, and what they did with the monies that we collected is they don't give the money directly to the women. What they do is they buy things like sewing machines or motorcycles and all that, and help them with the business plan. And these women will then start up small businesses.
Okay. Alison, Sharifa said one of the fundamental problem for women is getting funds, getting capital. But we heard this morning in one of the sessions an admission by 3 great bankers who said that we're actually paying lip service to SMEs, and most women are in SMEs. So this is a confession made by 4 male bankers. Now, how do you tackle that from your perspective, from your organization, to help women? I mean, this is part of peering, networking. How to help them source for funds? I mean, we can't. I'm sure you can't give the funds yourself unless you start crowdfunding mechanism or something like that. So how do you do that to help them?
Very good question. My organization, Jackets for Jobs, is a nonprofit organization, and so we actually receive federal funds to run our program. So I receive federal funds as well as receiving funding from foundations and individuals to run our program. So I'm out near peer networking all the time, telling people about our mission, which is to empower men and women to enter into the workforce. And so we deal with men and women that are unemployed, that just need some sort of assistance with employment training. They need assistance with their clothing to help them look good for a job interview. And so we're always counseling and educating them to how to look and feel their best when they're applying for work, so we can empower individuals to help them get off welfare, to help the women leave a shelter that has been abused. And so we're always trying to educate women, trying to empower them. And as a Goldman Sachs scholar, I've learned a lot as far as taking my business to the next level, as far as receiving funding to increase our revenue, as well as in hiring more people. And so that's my goal, and my mission is to increase the revenue as well as to hire more people. So in a nonprofit world, it's a little different because I'm always writing grants, seeking funding, whereas it's a little different in the for-profit industry, where the funding is a little different. So when you talk about women entrepreneurs and raising capital, it is a little different because you're going to bankers and you're trying to present your case to bankers for funding, for capital, whereas for me, I'm always seeking grants to operate our organization.
Yeah, in this case, do they reach out to you or you reach us out to them?
Both. I'm pleased to be able to say of the 14 years that I've had Jackets for Jobs, we've made a name recognition for ourselves in the city of Detroit, and not just in the city, but nationally. Not only do we have offices in Detroit, but we have an office in South Africa. And so we plan to continue to expand. So raising capital is important as far as expansion. So I seek funders, and then luckily people come to us because they would like to be a part of making a difference.
Sheikha, forgive me, but I'm going to ask you a very candid question. You are a sheikha. You inherited your parents' holding company. So does that, to you, constitute an extra advantage for you? And therefore, the barrier for you to progress in business is a lot less difficult than for ordinary people like me, for example?
Well, from the time I was a child, the only barrier I have learned was the fear that my grandma instilled in my psychology. She said, whatever you do, because I went to school in England, Sheikh al-Maskari, whatever you are doing, God is watching you. Imagine as a little girl, God is watching me, okay? Then His Highness, Allah Rahmahu Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, our president and founder of the UAE, as a little girl, took my hand and said, Sheikha, you be ambassador to our country. One, God is watching me. Another one, I'm ambassador representing the UAE. Those are the two things. So that actually made me disciplined to see that everything I do, I have to portray my country in the best way I can, not because Sheikha. And in today's world, as a Muslim, I have to spread the positive side of Islam. We were talking today, this session's title, networking. You go everywhere now, it's in vogue. Women empowerment, gender empowerment, entrepreneurship, but the most important empowerment a woman can fulfill with another one in this age of instantaneous, pervasive, rampant misinformation, spread of ideologies and prejudices and stigma, which are very provocative, very destructive. A woman has in her own way to empower the other woman and said, well, that's wrong, that's not what it is. You should do this, we should love each other, we should help each other. And if I ever feel successful, I go all over the world and I spread that, because I'm not tech savvy, but there is one secret I have that I found out from my old age. You don't need the most sophisticated transmission to actually talk to another human being. Only you have to be sincere. Love has no language. Love is expressed in the way you do things, in the way you help others. So you empower, first of all, I will just digress. I arrived in the United States to receive an award, E.P. Adler Award, for promoting interfaith and cross-cultural understanding globally. It just happened, I always get the wrong place, the wrong time. So elated, I landed, and here at Capitol Hill, I was going to get the award, of course, on board of the aircraft. I didn't see the news. The next day, as I was walking to the hall, I was supposed, when I'm giving the award, I have to give a short speech. And then the lady who took me and said, well, it's a closed door affair. I said, no, we've been advertising it for the last 2 months. Oh my God. Then I heard everybody picketing with banging, why do you hate us? Why do you hate us? I didn't think it was actually me. I don't hate anybody. So then the protocol guy told me, doctor, just to let you know, just behind you there is a door on the stage. If you feel uncomfortable, just walk back. We will zip you out of there. Hello? I'm your guest? Why should I zip out of here? Then I found out that somebody from the area had gone in the aircraft with a, bad intention, underwear bomb, the same day I arrived. So I said, good, I am good as you are. First of all, I tell you what I did. Road to Johnson County, I bought, long time ago, a corn farm. You can visit it. 3 times I was taken to court by my neighbor. Everybody took their corn farms and turned it into concrete blocks, hotels, whatever. Mine was the only corn farm, and they thought I was trying to avoid rezoning for taxes, agricultural taxation. I said, no. In the United States, they have a very nice system. A lawyer told me, look, we will defend you. I don't need anybody.
Thank you, Shekha. Thank you very much.
This you have here, to here. He said, do you speak English? I said, I think so. I think so. He said, why do you don't want to rezone? I said, look, I would like the children of this country 100 years, 200 years from now to know what beautiful black soil and corn farm looks like. Therefore, I put it in my will as a living trust. It's never been going to be shunned. It's always going to be that. After that, I'm doing it for you guys. Do I hate you? No. So after that, and we went on talking.
Shekha, thank you so much. Thank you.
So this is what we have as a woman.
Sorry.
You go everywhere.
The Emirates ladies always so stubborn. I mean, Thank you so much. Ladies, gentlemen, these
empower ourselves.
Yeah,
empower ourselves.
Right, sure. These are important anecdotes from a very experienced woman. But we have to give a chance to the others also to speak about their experience and how they help empower other women. I mean, I have to think 3 times before I get her again on board next year. I love you, Shekha. Priya, can you please tell us, I mean, really, we know of your success, but how you made it is also a long struggle. But there are a lot of women not in the best position as you are who needs help. Okay. Now, do you feel that bonding between women and women are much stronger, and you give a comfort level to the women to be inspired by you, and they feel inspired because of that special bonding?
Thank you for your question. I think firstly, let me just say, Shekha, you are just truly amazing. Sorry. Let me say that I sit on the Business Women's Association of South Africa. If we don't learn to inspire and trust and motivate each other, no man's going to do it with us, with due respect to all the men in the room. I think that we've got to learn to break down those barriers between ourselves. We've got to let go of our fear of sharing our success story. I told a story last night, and it wasn't actually a story, it was the truth. I said to my colleague that was sitting next to me, Michael, that I fitted glass and aluminium shower doors when I was young, whilst I studied to be an advocate. And he thought I was kidding. And I said, here, feel my hands. These are the roughest hands you'll feel. But the reality is that women often like me that are successful and do not really want to tell everybody, how did I start? What did I do to get here? Who did I need? What did I have to share? We are fearful of being judged for our stories. We are fearful of people's perceptions of ourselves.
Fearful or selfish?
No, I think it's an innate fear. I think women are highly emotional. We need to admit that we are emotional human beings as much as we are intelligent, and we're driven by our EQ. I would like to think we are fearful.
Okay.
And as the Business Women's Association, what we've done is we've knocked down all those barriers and all those glass ceilings, and we've said, come to us, which is so important about what it is you do and how it is you've set yourself up as the World Islamic Economic Forum Business Women's Network. One of the things I want to do when I walked away from here tomorrow is to sign a memorandum of understanding and a collaboration agreement with all the women representatives at this organization to say, let's join forces, let's get together, let's share our stories, let's tell the world of our successes and less of our failures.
Thank you. The first thing you should do is to get on the website of WBN, World Islamic Business Network. I mean, we can start by collaborating there because we do have a big data of women who has gone through with us over the 10 years that we have had.